Ladies and gentlemen of the old world, I hope you're all doing well, and welcome to this community showdown. It's going to be the Dwarves led by Death by Ricochet, facing off against Scrambled Egg Special and Cathay, which should be quite a bit of fun to see in action. So let's break down these armies and have some fun. So for Grand Cathay, it's going to be a battle line of Jade Warriors, mixed in with some Halberds. Now you might be wondering, why would you bring Halberds against Dwarves? They have nothing big, really, except Thorgrim and some Gyrocopters, but Jade Warrior Halberds still have decent armor piercing, so they can fight against infantry well. They have super high melee defense with Harmony, so they definitely get the job done and hold the line. Alchemist with Plague of Rust, Alchemist with Plague of Rust, and then we do have a Lord Magistrate who's going to be there with the Inspired Assault as well as the Inspired Marksmanship. Scrambled Egg always just brings the coolest builds, man. I love it. So we got some Nangao Grenadiers, which don't have the best AP values, but they can do well against like Doomseekers as well as Slayers, and probably aren't terrible against like lower tier Dwarf units. And that's going to be it. So just a combined arms army here, and he does also have the Graces of Kuai Yin. This unit is freaking awesome. They have that mark ability, so you can use that with Plague of Rust to really make somebody squishy. Oh, that's probably the combo. So does he use Plague of Rust and then uses the Nangao Grenadiers to melt actual, good quality units with the Grace of Kuai Yin Mark of Yin? Yeah, it's pretty badass. So for the Dowie build, it is going to be Death by Ricochet, one of our Dwarf mains. He does have Miners with Blasting Charges, some basic ones, a Dwarf Lord with the Star Metal Plate for the -8 melee attack, Grim Delvers in the back, as well as another Thane, and then a massive Vanguard push of Doomseekers. And yeah, I mean, hey, Doomseekers are really good at killing Cathay infantry. They're probably good enough to fight the Cav. If your opponent tries to get a little bit crunk, oh my god, what are we doing? We're in space right now. Oh, the pillar up there like caught the camera. Oh, that's pretty funny. But regardless, against like Crowmen, they'll rip them to shreds with magic damage, anti-infantry. I don't hate it, man. I don't hate it. Now, let's see how those Doomseekers can do. I mean, potentially they can overwhelm this flank and really, really box Cathay in. Could be fun to see. All right, so Thane is coming in. Dwarf Lord does have 2 Thanes with him. Thanes are just kind of grindy, tanky characters. And yeah, they give you some sustainability with 120 armor and 55 melee defense. What's not to love? So now let's posture up, see what's cooking. So the Doomseeker flank is getting ready. Dwarves are going to be doing a full frontal push here. So we do see everybody coming from every which direction. And now Scrambled Egg is going to need to figure something out here because it is going to get crazy real quick. All right, so here comes the, well, some of them have mohawks. Some of them have like Friar Tuck haircuts. They got like the power bald spots here. But yeah, these guys don't know what's coming for them. It's going to be an absolute massacre. So the big boys get in there, and we do see the Graces of Kuai Yin from downtown putting a lot of good fire support. But man, look how quick those Jade Warriors are dying. Oh my god. Yeah, I mean, that's what Doomseekers are. That's their whole thing. But Heaven's Flash activated now. That's one of the things that's cool about Nangao Grenadiers. This ability is insanely good. It does debuff enemy units and puts a little bit of hurt on them with that Heaven's Flash. Yeah. All right, Slayer's going to be trying to get around, but they do get caught in the AoE of the Heaven's Flash. And man, that lasts super long. All right, that's cool. On the backside, we did see the Grim Delvers moving up, but they're intercepted by some Jade Warriors. And then Plague of Rust going to be coming down from the Cathay Harry Potter, which is going to make them very, very weak against the Crowmen. And at the end of the day, a big loss for the Dwarves. Elsewhere, though, the Dwarves are doing pretty well on this side. The Blasting Charges are coming in, saturating into the Cathay Infantry, and we do also see the Dwarven Heroes. That's pretty epic, just like standing in the fire and flames, bashing those infantry. And yeah, the Dwarves having a winning fight here with 3 characters and Blasting Charge support. They'll for sure grind through. Now, how are the Doomseekers doing on this side? Getting worn down pretty badly by the Graces of Kuai Yin, a unit that actually has been quite a menace lately. In the past couple games I've played against Cathay, they've done very well, and I've seen them being brought kind of like very similar to how the Wolfhearts are often brought on Kislev. Just like a one-off utility piece in the backfield with some nice debuff power. Yeah, Doomseekers are ripping and tearing, and now we do see these are regular Slayers fighting a Lord Magistrate. He has low armor, but his melee defense is 50, so he'll probably be able to hold. If those had been Doomseekers, of course, would have been very scary. But 2 Doomseeker units moving into the Halberds, and one of the Slayers with a full Rage Boner, a Grudge Boner, I do dare say, going to be surging forth, chasing them down, and they're not squishy, though. Celestial Dragon Crossbows do have high armor and decent combat stats, but they don't want to be tar pitted by Slayers, obviously. Now, on the backside, Dwarves in danger of losing this objective, but they do manage to get 2 chaff units up, which should be able to hold it, so that's pretty big. If they had lost that, that would have been very bad. The Dwarves have not gotten Cathay's home objective here, though, and we do see the Spin to Win activated, ripping it up a little bit. Look at that. Spin to Win, baby. Garen, it's Garen from League of Legends, as he does rip through those Jade Warriors and is able to Shrek them pretty good. So those Doomseekers, I mean, yes, they're bleeding a lot, but they don't give up. You have to kill them to the last Doomseeker. So that disruption is really, really adding up here. And the Dwarves get the home objective. That is rough. That is incredibly rough. I wouldn't be surprised to see these Miners maybe move up and try and pin that point back. Because Cathay, like I said, on many an occasion, one of the worst factions in the game at playing, reclaiming lost objectives. Nangao Grenadiers here, though, doing great work. And if anybody can push back, it'll certainly be our boy Scrambled Egg Special. But the grenades getting in, saturating, doing some good damage. But Death by Ricochet really putting the pressure on him, man. Doomseekers coming in just super aggressively. Of course, getting hit by the grenades. And you can see that did do some respectable damage. But yeah, they're persistent. Very, very persistent. Cathay doesn't have like a super killy anti-infantry unit that can get in and like mow them down, right? That's tricky. That's a little bit tricky. So here comes the power haircuts. And that's going to be the end of these Grenadiers, or at least they're going to get pushed back right now. These Doomseekers being kited out. Heaven's Flash activated once again. A cool thing. I got to try those guys out. The Heaven's Flash ability, really, I mean, that's a huge debuff. Negative 24, negative 24 for a long period of time. It looks like a 30-second debuff there. On objective number 3, it does look like the Dwarves are able to hold this one in check. So we do see the Dowie holding, and holding on all fronts. And Grand Cathay really struggling to get these Slayers off the battlefield, man. But they do at least get their back objective back. 3 Dwarven characters, though, going to be very problematic for Grand Cathay to deal with. If we look around the battlefield, there's pretty much nothing in this Cathay army that's going to be effective against the Thanes and the Dwarf characters. Probably a Celestial Lion would be your best bet. I think those would be the ones that you would normally see used in such a way. But that's going to be 5, 10 capture weight plus 9. And for Grand Cathay, they're going to have like maybe 4... Yeah, that's going to be enough capture weight to start flipping that objective, unless the Nangown Grenadiers do jump on there. So the last of the Doomseekers still fighting it out, though. Very, very low model count. They're down to 3. But they're going out on their shield. Those Doomseekers certainly satisfying the grudge one way or the other. I mean, that's exactly what they wanted. On the backside, a Dwarf Warriors being called out. Capture weight is flipping into the favor of the Dwarves here, as the Dwarven Hero Corps does grind down those Jade Warrior Halberds. And is Cathay in the process of getting any ground back on the battlefield? We do see this objective here looking pretty Dowie favored, as these miners just running a little bit of interference. Yeah, we start to see the Dwarvish momentum shifting a little bit, as the value lead Grand Cathay has is certainly coming into view. Although, I just don't see how he uproots these characters, and that's going to be a perpetual 9 capture weight that you just can't get rid of, man. And the Dwarves, what do they have? About 600 points right now? So not like an insane lead. So here comes some Giant Slayers. Giant Slayers are, you know, obviously meant to fight big stuff, but they have 46 melee attack and really good AP value. So you can use Giant Slayers as a kind of a situational piece to take down armored infantry as well. And it looks like they're going to be heading to the back objective. The Graces of Kuai Yin still very much online, so that's going to be some hurt getting put down. Dwarves have the capture weight advantage, but their miners here are getting folded up a little bit, but coming across with the Giant Slayers is a brilliant idea. That will give some very heavy-duty, hard-to-remove capture weight. So that bombardment there did take down enough of the Dwarven miners that the capture weight is now going back to the forces of Grand Cathay. Graces of Kuai Yin shooting away here, and the halberds and bomber mobs finally clearing out the Dwarven diving. And the Dwarves do look a little bit flimsy on this point. Not flimsy, but like everything is low tier. Yeah, mainly miners, couple Dwarf Warriors in the mix. What is he going to be calling in next? Honestly, I wouldn't hate a Vanguard of a Doomseeker. Like at this point, summoning in a fresh Doomseeker right here, heading him over to objective number 3, would be super, super good. All right. The Giant Slayers have arrived. The Thane attacking the Nangao Grenadiers, but they're in guard mode, basically just throwing their grenades where they can. Giant Slayers getting melted pretty good, but putting some hurt down on the Cathay characters. But the Graces of Kuai Yin, yeah, they're up to 1100 value right now. Very, very nice. And Giant Slayers are anti-large. They don't want to be fighting something like Crowmen. So using the Crowmen here is a very, very good awareness here by the Scrambled Egg Special. Now, will the Dwarves be able to hold this point? Doomseekers are coming in. Doomseekers are going to be incredibly tough for Cathay to deal with here, because like now that Cathay's army is a little bit more partitioned around the battlefield, ammunition is running a little bit lower, those Doomseekers are going to be harder to focus down. The Graces of Kuai Yin won't be able to get them super directly. But yeah, Dwarf characters, like I said, being an absolute menace, just going to keep fighting here, and the Dwarves are going to be reinforcing, calling in Dwarf Warriors and Dwarf Warriors just to hold their ground. And yeah, grudges to be satisfied, man. We got the human Dwarves versus the actual Dwarves here, 2 factions that are very similar in many ways. The chaff units duking it out. Jade Warriors will probably beat a miner with lasting charge in terms of just like fighting, or just a miner in general. Their stat line's a lot higher, but the miners, you know, trade cost effectively there for their price point. All right, Graces firing away into the miners. On the backside, Grand Cathay has secured this point relatively well. The Magistrate and his Alchemist clearing out the Dwarven reinforcements here, while these miners are going to be getting pushed back. But the Dwarves are going to be approaching 1,000 points right now. That Doomseeker coming in, and yeah, I think Ricochet just spams out Doomseekers, and you know, Slayers, I guess, aren't a terrible choice either, just for getting some sustainable capture weight there. I don't know about sustainable on regular Slayers, but Doomseeker is very tough to kill. Now they're back in the mix. Absolute carnage. I mean, the Blood God is really going to be the winner of this game, guys. It's just absolute massacre. Mass amounts of infantry getting karate chopped here. Objective, though, starting to flip a little bit, guys, and we could see the Scrambled Egg Special on his way back, or maybe the Dwarves will cackle. You know, in the late game, the Dwarven Character Corps could theoretically win on this point and eventually just kind of weasel it out. And also, if the Lord Magistrate gets hunted by these Thanes, how quick is he? 34, and the Dwarves are a little bit slower, and it looks like a bit of a lapse in micro. The Magistrate's going to get caught, and the Dwarvish Thanes going to be world-renowned karate kicking masters. Are they going to do their karate kick animations? No, just the axe chop. And that Magistrate is going to be fleeing the scene. So Dwarves do stabilize that point. Those Doomseekers putting in a lot of heavy lifting, and the tree line is blocking some of those missiles, which is certainly, I would imagine, a very welcome reprieve for the Dwarves. For the Dwarves, basically what you want in this game is you want to hold this objective long enough that you can win on just one, and then just send a million, 85 leadership infantry to your back objective, and Cathay probably won't be able to get you, especially if you saturate it with your characters. So here they're fighting. Doomseekers are going, ripping and tearing versus what appear to be Celestial Dragon Guard being mixed in. So some elite infantry actually for Grand Cathay. That's really what Cathay needs. Like, Cathay has a lot of things that make them a good faction. And I mean, they've been doing all right in domination. Just really hard to play. It requires a lot of knowledge of the faction, but if Cathay got like a powerful, like aggressive anti-infantry unit, like very much in the style of like a Forsaken, or like basically just like a Forsaken equivalent, or even a Forsaken with light armor, like whatever, just something that's fast, hits hard, and has anti-infantry, maybe Vanguard deployment, they would go from being like a middling faction to being very top tier in my opinion. That's like all they're missing. So Dwarf Warriors are going to be waddling up. We got 2 of them heading over here, and that's a lot of capture weight moving towards that objective, but Grand Cathay does manage to get this one. Blasting charges on their way in, Slayers fighting it out, afflicted by the Heaven's Flash, and the harmonious formations of Grand Cathay are holding firm, and they do indeed have their harmony. The halberds are up, and their armor should mitigate a lot of the damage from the Slayers. The Magistrate coming over to give some inspired orders to his men, which is very cool. And here comes the Dwarf Warriors, chopping through the defensive Peasant Horsemen. If he's able to get Cathay's back objective, that's going to be a pretty big disaster, as the Dowie infantry do advance up. And yeah, very cheap, very cost-effective. Good leadership, and Cathay basically just sending everybody in. Just all hands on deck. We're exhausted, but, you got to hold. I think, okay, if I were to see a Celestial Dragon Guard arriving at this objective, I would retreat. I would probably pull back both Dwarf Warrior units to objective 1, or maybe just leave the one that's already fighting in, and yeah, because you're not going to be able to get past those guys. Although, arguably, this is stuffing him back, but I think you got to start playing for the Helm's Deep play, which I don't know if he's going to have enough time for that. It's going to be very tight. All right, so we do see the Dwarf Lord fighting here with the last of his Slayers. This position is going to be pretty heavily won by Grand Cathay. And this is one of the first games I've seen in a long time in which we've actually seen Nangao Grenadiers look really good. I mean, they've been a menace, and certainly no joke, man. Yeah, they've been doing a lot of damage and also providing great utility debuffing. I don't hate it. So Thane, Dwarves fighting here. Dwarf Warriors getting swarmed by Crowmen, and just, numbers are numbers. They're going to get beaten down by the mass amount of birds coming in. More Slayers on the way up, more Dwarf Warriors in the back, and for Grand Cathay, their Collins are going to be Crowmen. But this objective is flipping into the Dowie favor, although when the Celestial Dragon Guard get in combat, start ripping apart these Dwarf Warriors, probably will change the paradigm of that particular fight. Oh man, this is a really close one with the scores. Oh man, I actually think the Dwarves barely went on one, unless my potato... I'll tell you in just a second. We'll get there in just un momento. So Slayers are losing it. Value trading for Death by Ricochet. He's at just a little bit less than Grand Cathay. It's not the end of the world. Characters fighting well, but the rest of the Dwarvish forces got bullied. And yeah, Plague of Rust being used. So there's a Plague of Rust right there to lower their stats. Yeah, so the Dwarves actually do just one-on-one objective. Just barely. It's literally about like 2 seconds. So they're going to need to just Helm's Deep on their back point. And, you could keep spending some chaff over here to keep this army occupied. That's not a bad idea, but they got to start reinforcing that back point. Get a couple Doomseekers back there, live your best life, and, have a good time there. So how are the Thanes looking? Thanes are grinding. We got 2 of these bad boys battling the Celestial Dragon Guard. I don't know who would win that eventually. It looks like they're going to be detaching from combat, trying to take down that Harry Potter who's been trolling them the entire game, melting their armor. Ooh, I like this pick. This is really good. Although it's probably just going to get dove by like the 8 Crowmen units, but the Grim Delvers are not a bad idea. If they get the jump on a Crowmen, they can melt one of them, and then if you protect them with like a Slayer or like a Doomseeker or something, could be very, very good. All right, so the Dwarf Lord is retreating to the back objective. A brilliant play. Very, very good instincts there by Ricochet. And elsewhere here, the 2 Thanes keeping those Celestial Dragon Guard occupied, which is good. But here comes the Plague of Rust combo. Very nasty. Yeah, it's going to be negative 60 armor, so they're down to 25 armor. Starting to feel like some greenskin orc boys here. But, yeah, that will let the Crowmen do more damage. But there's a lot of Dwarves nearby. Slayers getting melted pretty badly by the grenade salvos and by the Crowmen. Grim Delvers are on their way up, and we do have more chaff units coming in. It's basically just all hands on deck to hold this back objective. Call in here for Cathay, the Graces of Kuai Yin, as well as the Jade Warrior Halberds. Over here, how is the Magistrate doing? The Magistrate able to hold this point, and that is a lot of momentum heading to that back objective. But Cathay is a very slow faction on the ground as well. But, oh, the Chad Delvers planting their feet in the ground and ripping some fat shots into the Crowmen. And the Crowmen actually taking big damage. Look at that. That one's unstable and crumbling. That's big. I mean, little things like that. Those Grim Delvers sitting in a deep Overwatch here could honestly be the game-winning play. I think that's going to be really good. What a game so far, man. This has been amazing. All right, Dwarf Warriors moving up. Slayer's coming, and the Lord is going to be saturating in. Satisfy the grudge. The Dwarves surge forward, pushing back the legions of Grand Cathay. Those Grenadiers are going to be on the retreat. And the Grim Delvers, yeah, I don't know if anything's going to get past them. Like, any unit that gets in their kill box is just going to get mowed down, man. It's going to be nasty. So 1,400 points, going to be getting approached here in just a second. And what are the Dwarves going to be spamming? Yep, just all the same chaff units, while Grand Cathay coming in with the graces of Kuai Yin with 180 range, really good AP values. That's certainly not what the Dwarves want to be fighting. So a lot of this is going to come down to the execution of the Grim Delvers. If they're used correctly and are able to rip some salvos and punish this advancing force, I think keeping them back a little bit is better. I mean, I know he wants to capture weight on the objective, which is fair, but they may just get compromised very quickly in melee. We're going to have to see how this goes. Yeah, good luck getting through these Dwarvish lines, man. Not going to be easy. Dwarves are one of the most stalwart factions in the game, and this is their power fantasy, just sitting there with a grudge erection, holding the point, and meeting these Cathay forces in combat. So the lines clash one last time, as the Grim Delvers provide a little bit of fire support from downtown. Oh, the elevation. They actually mowed down the back ranks. That's so friggin' sick, man. So Miners moving in. Dwarf Lord going to be debuffing them. The Graces of Kuai Yin going to be unleashing here on the Grim Delvers. And the Crowmen are going to go for it now. And yeah, we need to see them switch onto the Crowmen right now. Mark of Yin, Plague of Rust. Oh my god, look at that. How much armor? 0 armor on them right now. Oh man, that is a cool-ass combo. This game's been so neat, man. We've seen some really neat tech from both players. We'll see if those guys are going to be surviving. But yeah, should have switched onto the Crowmen and maybe be a little bit more deep set. Granted, I understand he wanted the capture weight there. So are the Dwarves going to hold this? They are only 40 seconds away from winning the game. Miners with blasting charges coming in. Grim Delvers getting folded. Absolutely hammered down by that, man. That negative a million armor. Pretty cool. They do get broken. Dwarf Warriors, though, able to take down the Crowmen. And the Dwarvish characters are here in the mix. Grand Cathay just going to be piling in as much capture weight as they can. Need to get these other halberds on. And I think we're going to see Cathay start to flip the capture weight, but I think it's too late. Don't think they're going to be able to break through the Dwarves here. And yeah, I think the Graces of Kuai Yin need to move on as well. They just need as much cap weight as they can. Although just shooting the enemy off the objective is good utility as well. All right, guys. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And that is going to be it. The Dwarves getting it done, man. What a cockfight that was. Yeah, you know, Cathay hates being stuffed back, and they probably didn't expect a stuffing strategy from the Dwarves. And the Dwarves absolutely did that with the triple Doomseeker, which I doubt they got their value back, but they were cool. Although some of them did, actually. 1,700 on that one. Okay, not bad. Not bad at all. Elsewhere, though, pretty standard stuff. I really like the two Dwarven characters. Cathay has always hated like foot infantry characters that are just sustainable, so yeah, it's good. And I love the build. I mean, the Chad Magistrate, the Plague of Rust combos, Grace has got 2,500 value. Grenadiers, 600. 142 on that one, but yeah, 2,400 on those ones. Damn, I don't know what they were targeting, but damn, that's some good stuff. Yeah, the reinforcing Grenadiers did really good, man. I love that game. That was a lot of fun. All right, guys, see you around. Thanks to Ricochet and Scrambled for the great replay, and that's going to be it for today. Cheers.